Across the African continent, survival pressure does not come only from teeth and claws. It lives in the muddy current of the Mara, the cracked soil of the Miombo, the tall grass that hides distance, and the open gaps where a predator can lose its advantage in seconds. Here, strength, speed, memory, and numbers all come at a cost. A lion waits for the exact moment to explode from cover. Wild dogs hold the pace through the endurance of the whole pack. Elephants search for water beneath hard ground. Crocodiles turn the silence of the river into an ambush. But within all these strategies, what decides who still has enough energy to continue, who must pull back, and who becomes life for everything that follows? The answer begins where an entire herd is pushed to the river's edge.
On the African continent, survival does not unfold through sudden bursts of action. It is determined more slowly by remaining energy in the body, by the presence or absence of water, by temperature shifts over hours, and by small deviations that nature does not allow to be corrected. When pressure accumulates beyond a threshold, ecosystems reveal how they function. In the Serengeti and the Mara, herd density and terrain turn a river crossing into a severe selection process. On open grasslands, Hyenas balance hunting with holding access to resources under constant pressure from hyenas. When biomass accumulates, scavengers arrive to limit disease risk and return energy to the soil. Farther on, drought forces elephants to open groundwater to sustain their herds. In open woodland, African wild dogs rely on coordination and endurance to persist among larger competitors. In the Somali arid zone, physiology adjusts to conserve water. And in wetlands and across Liuwa, mud, seasonal floods, and climate establish a new order after years of disruption. Every movement here carries a cost. Those costs keep ecosystems operating. Approximately 1.5 million wildebeest accumulate along the banks of the Mara River. Herd density rises quickly as groups from behind continue to press forward. Space becomes compressed by bodies, continuous low calls, and red dust lifted from dry ground. Many individuals near the center of the herd cannot see the river ahead. They register pressure transmitted through their bodies from all directions, where small movements are amplified by numbers. Survival pressure here does not come from a single predator. It comes from the structure of the crowd itself. When the herd remains stationary for too long, balance becomes unstable. There is no clear leader. There is no unified signal to begin the crossing. Each minute of delay increases density behind. Pushing individuals at the front closer to the edge. Under these conditions, becoming the first is not a choice. It is the outcome of probability. Along many stretches, the Mara riverbank is eroded into a steep wall of about 45 degrees. The surface soil is soft and prone to collapse, while smoother rock is exposed beneath. When the combined weight of the herd exceeds the load the edge can support, failure occurs. The first individual slides down, not due to a personal decision, but because the terrain can no longer remain stable. Immediately after, gravity controls the sequence. Individuals behind cannot stop. The pressure from the herd combined with the slope forces bodies downward along a near vertical path. Hooves cannot gain traction on wet soil. Many strike large rocks at the waterline, causing leg fractures or joint injuries on impact. Below, fast-moving water mixed with sediment reduces visibility to near zero. The riverbed is uneven, with large boulders coated in slick mud. When entering the water without stable posture, wildebeest lose balance. Injured individuals cannot generate enough force to counter the current and are quickly separated from the main flow. Zebras appear interspersed within the migrating flow. Differences in body structure allow some individuals to maintain better balance while swimming. However, differences in speed and direction within confined space increase collisions. Each collision disrupts swimming rhythm and raises the risk of being pushed into deeper water. In turbid conditions, Nile crocodiles do not rely on sight. They respond to vibration and irregular movement. And when an individual is injured or exhausted, speed drops relative to the group. This contrast becomes a clear signal. Approaches occur at very short range, using water force to restrain the target. Mid-river, disorder reaches its peak. Wildebeest overlap while swimming, and some are pushed under for several seconds before resurfacing. Disoriented individuals are drawn into eddies that carry them into deeper sections with no foothold. As the far bank comes into reach, danger does not end. The exit slope is also steep and slick. Many exhausted individuals cannot climb out at once. Within minutes, thousands of individuals are removed from the migration. Carcasses accumulate where current slows, caught on roots and mud flats. The remainder of the herd moves on toward the plains without stopping. On the Serengeti plains, lion prides occupy hunting ranges that have been maintained for many years. During daylight hours, most time is spent in a low activity state. Adult lions rest close to dry ground, reducing sun exposure and limiting energy loss. Lion cubs cluster in low grass or sparse shade, remaining within the control range of adult individuals. This calm state is not absolute safety, and it is part of an energy conservation strategy in an environment with unpredictable food availability. The greatest survival pressure on a lion pride comes from the need to raise the next generation. Lion cubs grow rapidly and require a steady supply of protein. As temperatures drop toward evening, hunting conditions shift. Lion activity increases. Tall, dry grass conceals low-level movement and creates an advantage at close range. In this setting, concealment becomes more important than maximum speed. Lions do not charge from a distance. They reduce distance before prey can respond. Hunting formations develop based on position and spacing. Individuals do not move as a single unit. They spread across multiple angles, maintaining separation sufficient to apply pressure from several directions. Coordination does not rely on sound. It relies on movement timing and prey response. When a prey animal changes direction, the formation adjusts to maintain containment. The release phase is rapid and decisive. Stored energy is expended within seconds. When a hunt succeeds, survival pressure shifts rather than disappears. Blood scent and movement draw hyenas from long distances. They arrive in groups and increase in number over time. Hyena advantage does not lie in individual strength. It lies in density and sustained pressure. Lions shift from hunting to defense. Adult individuals position themselves around the carcass, maintaining distance from hyenas. Each minute of defense increases energy loss and injury risk. Hyenas exploit this condition. They extend harassment and force lions into prolonged vigilance. When When lions withdraw to protect cubs or due to exhaustion, hyenas quickly take over the remaining carcass. Unlike lions, hyenas can process nearly the entire remaining biomass. Powerful jaws allow bone crushing and access to low-value components. This strategy supports more stable long-term energy intake, even without making the initial kill. After hunts and river crossings, carcasses appear scattered across the plains. They lie exposed under direct sunlight, where high temperatures cause decomposition to begin almost immediately. Ruppel's vultures approach the site from great distances. From high altitude, they detect small changes in movement among predators and other scavengers on the ground. When a carcass forms, individuals converge from multiple directions. Numbers increase rapidly, forming a dense cluster around the food source within a short time. Marabou storks approach along a different route. They arrive from wetlands, mudflats, and river edges, entering the site on foot. Their height and long stride allows stable movement across uneven terrain. Upon arrival, they usually remain on the outer edge, waiting for gaps to open among the vultures. Survival pressure at the site does not come from locating a carcass. It comes from processing speed. Competition for position begins as numbers increase. Ruppel's vultures dominate through density and direct access to soft tissue. They crowd tightly and shift position continuously to maximize intake rate. Marabou storks do not engage in dense crowding. They use height and strong bills to access thicker portions when opportunities appear. This is the most dangerous phase for the surrounding ecosystem. If carcasses remain too long, bacterial spores can enter soil and water and retain infectious potential for years. High scavenger density interrupts this process. Vulture stomachs have extremely high acidity, sufficient to destroy most disease-causing bacteria. When soft tissue is consumed quickly, the duration of conditions favorable to bacterial growth is sharply reduced. This is a critical biological mechanism that limits pathogen spread in open environments. Throughout this process, competition continues without pause. Vultures displace weaker individuals toward the edges. Marabou storks exploit brief openings to access tissue. No species holds absolute control of the site. Advantage shifts with density, carcass size, and arrival timing. After several hours, carcass structure changes clearly. Most soft tissue disappears. Bones become exposed and pulled apart. As nutritional value declines, processing rate slows. Large scavengers gradually depart, leaving insects and microorganisms to continue breakdown of remaining material. Nutrients do not disappear with the carcass. Scavenger droppings fall to the ground, carrying nitrogen and phosphorus in absorbable forms. In areas with frequent carcass occurrence, grass often grows denser and greener during the rainy season. For the plains, this is not an abnormal event. It is a repeated recycling process that keeps energy moving and maintains large-scale biological balance. During the dry season, the Miombo woodland becomes a harsh environment. Surface soil hardens and fractures into large plates. Surface water disappears across most of the region, leaving only seasonal pools that have dried completely. Under these conditions, savanna elephant herds continue to move along established routes at a slow but steady pace. The dominant survival pressure is prolonged thirst. Because of their large body mass, elephants require substantial daily water intake to maintain metabolism and regulate body temperature. When surface water disappears, any deviation in travel direction increases the risk of severe dehydration. This pressure affects the entire herd and is most pronounced in calves, which lose water more rapidly and overheat more easily. The matriarchal social structure becomes critical in this context. The lead female directs movement based on locations that provided groundwater during previous dry seasons. These sites show no obvious surface indicators. There are no visible flows or patches of green grass. Their value lies in subsurface geology, where water remains after seasonal rains end. Adult elephants begin breaking the compressed layer using forefeet and tusks. The repeated motion requires significant energy. Soil is pushed aside, exposing darker layers that indicate retained moisture. When the pit reaches sufficient depth, groundwater begins to seep through soil fissures. Initial water volume is small but sufficient to create a critical resource concentration in the dry environment. The long trunk allows efficient access to this water. Water is drawn from the pit base and delivered directly to the mouth. Smaller individuals approach afterward and use the expanded pit. Access order reflects herd hierarchy, reducing conflict and ensuring calves drink before the source is depleted. Throughout this process, the herd maintains a natural defensive formation. Adult individuals position themselves around the excavation area and maintain distance from surrounding woodland. This structure preserves internal order and limits exposure to potential threats. Groundwater pits do not serve elephants alone. As water seeps upward and surrounding soil becomes moist, other species begin to arrive. Small antelope, warthogs, birds, and insects appear in successive waves. Groundwater brought to the surface creates a rare focal point of activity during prolonged drought. Once temporary water access is secured, the herd resumes movement along established routes. The water pits are not abandoned. Over subsequent days and weeks, multiple species continue to use and expand them. Some pits become semi-permanent water sources that persist through multiple dry seasons if regularly reused. The immediate outcome is not limited to herd survival. Groundwater pits created by elephants become foundational resources for hundreds of other species. In Miombo woodland, under prolonged thirst pressure, elephants play a critical role in opening and maintaining life-supporting pathways and keeping energy flow within the ecosystem intact. In open woodland, a pack of African wild dogs forms a loose formation with short spacing between individuals. The space is fragmented by tree trunks, shrubs, and uneven ground. Visibility is repeatedly obstructed, making continuous connection between individuals a requirement before hunting begins. Sneezing vocalizations appear intermittently within the pack, with frequency increasing over time. When the number of vocal signals passes a certain threshold, the state of the entire pack shifts almost simultaneously.
The open woodland environment adds another layer of challenge. Obstacles appear continuously, disrupting running lines and blocking sight lines.
As the pack begins to move, speed increases in stages. There's no immediate burst of maximum acceleration, and the strategy relies on endurance and energy distribution. individuals rotate the lead position, reducing load on any single animal. This structure allows the pack to maintain continuous pressure over long periods without exhausting one member. In more open areas, East African oryx move in small groups. Large bodies, long legs, and straight horns allow them to maintain safe spacing in landscapes with little cover. Oryx face sandstorms and high temperatures without accessing surface water for long periods. This ability relies on a specialized physiological mechanism related to heat regulation. As environmental temperature rises, oryx allow body temperature to increase within a safe range. This reduces the temperature gradient between body and environment, lowering the need for evaporative cooling.
Most water intake for oryx comes from dry vegetation.
Although water content is low, combined with heat regulation and limited sweating, it supports basic activity. Oryx do not require daily drinking and can persist for weeks without open water. When seasonal floodwaters spread across the Sud Basin and the Lake Chad region, dry savanna disappears. Solid ground is replaced by deep sinking mud, turbid channels, and unpredictable flooded flats. The substrate no longer provides stable support. Every step requires high energy output, and small positional errors can cause a body to become trapped in mud. Hippopotamuses concentrate around stable mud pools. Most of the body remains submerged, with only eyes, ears, and part of the back exposed. Mud pools regulate body temperature and reduce pressure from insects and direct sunlight. As water levels shift, suitable mud area contracts, increasing animal density and spatial competition. Survival pressure for hippopotamuses does not involve finding water, but maintaining access to mud pools. Warm, stagnant water supports parasites. Hippopotamus skin is frequently abraded by mud and hard objects. Loss of a stable position rapidly increases infection risk. For this reason, short-range spatial control becomes the highest priority. In mud, large body size provides a clear advantage. Hippopotamuses do not require speed or extended pursuit. Brief direct approaches are sufficient to force intruders away. Mud resistance slows all movement, while hippopotamuses are adapted to these conditions. Cape buffalo enter flooded zones using tight herd structure. The herd moves as a dense mass with minimal spacing between individuals. When entering soft mud, front individuals absorb the highest resistance, compressing the substrate and forming temporary support for those behind. This structure reduces the risk of single animals becoming stuck. Survival pressure on buffalo comes from multiple sources. Waterborne parasites reduce condition if the herd remains stationary too long. Low oxygen levels in mud increase physiological cost of intense movement. At the same time, wetland lions monitor stable entry and exit routes used as water levels change. In muddy environments, the speed advantage of lions is nearly eliminated. Each acceleration carries risk of entrapment or injury. Rapid directional change becomes difficult. This reduces the effectiveness of ambush tactics used on dry savanna. Buffalo exploit this limitation by maintaining compact formation. When threat signals appear, the herd tightens and positions adult animals outward. In mud, multi-angle access is restricted, significantly reducing attack success. Crocodiles occupy deep channels and wetland margins. They use transition zones between deep water and soft mud, where large animals must slow down. However, high density and synchronized movement of buffalo herds reduce the ability to isolate individuals. Continuous surface vibration disrupts precise approach cues. Low oxygen conditions force activity adjustment across species. Hippopotamuses reduce daytime movement and focus on maintaining stable positions. Buffalo select routes used repeatedly. Repeated use compresses mud, creating movement corridors with relative stability in flooded terrain. As floodwaters continue to rise or retreat, safety boundaries shift rapidly. Areas stable one day can become mud traps the next. In this context, collective experience becomes decisive. Buffalo adjust direction based on feedback from front individuals. Hippopotamuses maintain familiar mud pools tested across many seasons. Hippopotamus spatial control combined with buffalo herd structure creates zones that are difficult to penetrate. The Liuwa Plains in western Zambia extend across flat terrain with short grass cover. For many decades, this area experienced severe ecological decline. Overhunting and prolonged disturbance disrupted migration cycles, reduced herbivore biomass, and nearly eliminated predators. Energy flow within the ecosystem remained broken for an extended period. Change began when topee antelope herds returned. Thousands of individuals moved across the plains in coordinated waves, or forming long migration bands. In open landscapes, timing errors can result in failure. If arrival occurs too early, grass has not yet recovered. If arrival occurs too late, food resources are already depleted. Under variable climate conditions, selecting the correct migration window becomes a critical survival pressure. El Niño events make rainfall patterns at Liuwa increasingly unpredictable. Grass growth becomes uneven, creating widespread nutritional gaps. As herbivore biomass increases, predators begin to return. Cheetahs adapt rapidly to open plains, where speed and long approach distances are effective. A single topee falling out of rhythm is enough to create a brief opportunity. This advantage persists only while competitive pressure remains low. Lions return to Liuwa more slowly. The legacy of Lady Liuwa marks a rare phase of re-establishment for the species in this region. After long absence, lion social structure was fully disrupted. When new individuals appear, survival pressure involves not only hunting, but maintaining presence long enough to form stable prides. During early recovery, cheetahs and lions coexist. Cheetahs exploit speed, while lions exploit collective strength. As lion density increases, competitive pressure emerges and hunting space becomes shared, pushing the ecosystem into a new adjustment phase. Human presence at Liuwa appears mainly through monitoring. GPS tracking and camera traps reduce poaching without direct intervention. This restraint allows species to self-adjust to climate variation and food availability. Energy flow reconnects from grass, through topee herds, to predators. Liuwa does not return to its former state. The ecosystem regains the ability to self-organize and continue functioning within a new reality. The African savanna is a system operating with absolute precision. Where beauty is defined not by color, but by how biological mechanisms solve the problem of energy limits. In this sun-scorched landscape, life is not sustained by chance. It is determined by strict rules, where every movement carries a cost in calories and vigilance. This sequence examines contrasting survival pathways. The physical dominance of lions is set against the endurance of African wild dogs. Life is not owned. It is temporarily maintained through a continuous energy cycle governed by natural systems. A minor deviation can convert a dominant individual of today into a resource for tomorrow. In open African ecosystems, power is not exercised solely through physical action. In many cases, it is established through presence. Lions function as a top-level command unit. When an adult male weighing approximately 420 pounds with a dark mane enters an area, the biological structure of the region changes immediately. Herbivores alter behavior within a radius of 1 mile, not due to an active attack, but due to the pressure created by the presence of an apex predator. This authority is supported by 3 primary factors: body mass, pride-based social structure, extreme territorial defense mechanisms. Unlike solitary predators, lions optimize energy expenditure by resting up to 20 hours per day. Their position is maintained through control of strategic resources: shade, water access, prey migration corridors. From a biological perspective, lions are optimized for short-duration, high-intensity output. They are not designed for prolonged endurance activity. Muscle architecture is concentrated on explosive force generation. The hind limbs function as high-tension spring systems. They propel a body mass approaching 440 pounds to speeds between 35 and 40 miles per hour within seconds. The lion's thermoregulation system is limited in efficiency. If a pursuit exceeds approximately 200 yards, the jaw delivers a bite force of approximately 1,000 psi. Canine teeth measuring roughly 3 inches apply mechanical pressure to the airway or compromise the cervical vertebrae of prey, weighing up to 3 times the lion's mass. If lions function as short-range ballistic systems, African wild dogs function as endurance specialists. Evolution did not equip them with heavy muscle mass for direct confrontation. Instead, it produced a biological structure optimized for sustained operational output. With a body weight between 40 and 80 pounds, they rank among the lighter carnivores. Long, slender legs and forward toes increase stride length and reduce friction. Within wild dog ecology, individual isolation does not define survival. Their strategy depends on synchronized network behavior. Before initiating an attack sequence, the pack performs a measurable behavior. This is not a reflex response. It functions as a biological voting mechanism. The hunt does not begin until a threshold of collective agreement is reached through reciprocal sneezes. Their hunts apply sustained mechanical pressure rather than sudden terminal force. When a target, often an impala, is identified, the pack deploys in a trapezoid formation. They maintain speeds near 37 miles per hour across multiple miles. Their success represents organizational structure, operational discipline, and a coordinated system with minimal error tolerance. The savanna functions as an evolutionary laboratory where opposing operational models intersect. One system is the lion. It represents fixed power. With substantial muscle mass, Lions enforce territorial control through physical dominance. They rely on short-duration force and immediate impact. Control is maintained through fear response and spatial occupation. In contrast, African wild dogs represent mobile efficiency. They do not maintain fixed territorial dominance in the same manner. They operate through spatial flexibility, long duration endurance, and sustained range movement. When these systems intersect, the numerical advantage of wild dogs often becomes neutralized by the presence of a single adult lion. The entry of one mature lion into a defensive perimeter immediately alters the balance of power. Wild dogs perform rapid risk assessment. In direct conflict, a 1,000 psi bite force can compromise the skeletal structure of a 60-pound wild dog within one bite cycle. Lions eliminate wild dogs as a resource competition strategy. Food resources can be replaced. Pack members cannot. To survive under apex pressure, wild dogs implement active avoidance strategy. They abandon resource-rich territories if large lion prides occupy them. Wild dogs use higher average movement speed to maintain safe distance. Maintaining pack integrity remains the highest operational priority. Their high hunting success rate and environmental adaptability provide strategic advantage across extended timescales. The Nile crocodile functions as an integrated component of the river terrain. armored muscle mass weighing 1,200 pounds can erase its physical presence into murky water within a single breath. Its metabolic system allows it to remain motionless for weeks, lowering heart rate to minimal levels while waiting for error from a target. The skull structure positions the eyes, nostrils, and ears along a flat axis near the top of the head. This configuration enables full environmental scanning while 95% of the body remains submerged. Approach is a calculation of physical distance. It does not swim using limbs. It uses a muscular tail to generate thrust, moving like a silent torpedo. When distance closes to 3 feet, the reptilian brain activates an explosive reflex sequence. This attack speed exceeds the processing threshold of mammalian nervous systems. When an antelope lowers its center of gravity to drink, the strike mechanism engages. The crocodile does not bite to tear flesh, it bites to lock. With clamping force reaching 3,700 pounds per square inch. Once the head or neck is secured, body mass is applied to pull the obstruction into deep water. At this point, it initiates the death roll by rotating its body axis with maximum torque. Within less than 10 seconds, the water surface returns to stillness. No sound, no residual disturbance, only physical disappearance into river darkness. When thermal radiation reaches 110 degrees Fahrenheit, control of the Nile ecosystem shifts from reptilian ambush mechanics to mammalian physical dominance. The hippopotamus, with a muscle mass of 5,000 pounds, establishes mechanical order during daylight hours. Within this ecosystem, size functions as a heavy deterrence weapon. A dominant male controls a river section through overwhelming force advantage. Male hippopotamus conflicts represent some of the most severe mechanical trials in nature. With bite force reaching 1,800 pounds per square inch, a single jaw closure cycle can crush crocodile armor or fracture spinal structures. A skin layer measuring 2 inches thick functions as protective armor, absorbing impact from direct collisions. Next, the hippopotamus activates a chemical defense mechanism known as blood sweat. This substance is not blood. It is a dense red-orange organic acid compound. This fluid functions as a multi-purpose chemical shield. It provides high-efficiency ultraviolet filtration and acts as a powerful antibacterial agent. In bacteria-dense water environments, it prevents infection at structural injury sites, allowing sustained combat capability. The Nile River ecosystem operates within a closed power cycle. Night belongs to concealed ambush systems. Day belongs to the raw armored dominance of the hippopotamus. Every movement here follows strict rules of biological limits and positional advantage. The cheetah does not operate on energy accumulation or collective security. Its entire genetic structure and muscular system are calibrated for a single physical objective. Its existence is not measured in days, but in repeated episodes of extreme energy release. Every biological index, from blood oxygen concentration to cardiac contraction rate, compresses into one explosive charge. If this action does not generate sufficient caloric return, its energy system enters immediate deficit. The cheetah has no margin for error. It survives or fails based on the performance of a 20-second sprint. The cheetah hunt unfolds faster than the prey retina can process. The cheetah enters its most biologically vulnerable state. It requires 20 to 30 minutes to reduce core body temperature to a safe threshold. Remaining stationary beside a carcass in open terrain increases detection probability. The chemical signal of blood attracts competing predators in escalating sequence. The cheetah does not feed for satisfaction. It conducts forced caloric intake. Because it cannot defend a kill, it consumes protein-dense soft tissue rapidly at the site. The hyena does not operate during the peak of the hunt. It arrives when blood has cooled and the acoustic impulses of conflict have faded. The hyena does not compete for dominance metrics during battle. It focuses on surplus value after power dynamics have resolved. Within the hyena survival algorithm, victory is not the primary objective. The hyena operates through delay. It waits for a lapse in cheetah carcass defense. It waits for an energy gap after lions have fed. It waits for environmental exhaustion. Hyena presence increases through progressive density. A single individual first collects chemical signals from distance. This is a chain reaction driven by scent pressure and numerical accumulation. When group size reaches a critical tipping point, the hyena shifts from observer to site controller through numerical pressure. For the hyena, resource definition does not include freshness. Its digestive system functions as a chemical reactor capable of processing organic compounds rejected by all others. With a jaw pressure of 1,100 pounds per square inch, the hyena fractures bone to extract marrow and internal protein. Does not require speed or surprise like the cheetah. Its targets are static objects or organisms depleted of energy. When the hyena departs, the recycling cycle is complete. No white bones remain. No decay odor persists. No physical evidence of a terminated existence is left behind. All components have been absorbed and processed through specialized metabolism. Hyenas do not merely consume, they erase the site. They restore neutral ground to the ecosystem. They serve as periodic endpoints for life cycles. They enable renewal without obstruction from residual structure. At the heart of North America, Yellowstone does not operate through high-speed chases. It is defined by extended timescales and geological pressure. This landscape is a massive volcanic caldera that is still breathing. Rising geothermal steam is not scenery. It is a signal of extreme heat-seeking release. Winter arrives through a ruthless process. In a kingdom of snow and ice, there is no concept of peak hunting season. There is only prolonged depletion. For bison and wapiti elk, death does not come from bites. It comes from the exhaustion of stored energy. The deeper the snow, the more digging for food becomes a negative return calculation. This is a severe economic equation. Every movement is an energy debt. Wolves and grizzly bears do not hunt strength. They hunt exhaustion. Winter survival is a marathon against freezing. It It is the last organism able to retain body heat until spring returns. Within the Yellowstone ecosystem, gray wolves do not operate as explosive killers. They function as tempo managers. A wolf pack never attacks based solely on immediate hunger reflex. They operate through a complex algorithm of probability and energy expenditure. For wolves, a failed hunt is not just a food shortage. It is a calorie debt that can destabilize the entire pack during winter. The decision to attack is determined by three physical variables: timing, terrain, target error margin. Wolves do not create opportunity through raw muscle impulse. They extract opportunity from biological decline. A 700-pound wapiti elk with dense antler bone structure is a living fortress. Wolves identify direct attack on a healthy target as biological suicide. Therefore, the first strategic weapon is accumulated patience. The hunting cycle begins long before physical conflict. The pack monitors elk herds across multiple day-night cycles. They maintain psychological pressure sufficient to sustain alertness without triggering full flight response. They identify individuals with irregular gait. They identify juveniles lacking full motor coordination. They identify older individuals with joint damage. They exploit local terrain, unstable packed snowfields, frozen, slippery stream crossings. These conditions neutralize the physical advantages of the prey. The pack operates as a single entity with defined roles. Lure units. They only need to guide it and into snow deeper than 2 feet. There, body mass becomes a mechanical restraint. Once the target is isolated and reaches exhaustion threshold due to snow friction, the hunt enters technical processing. This is not an exhibition of individual strength. It is a system shutdown procedure. When the target collapses, there is no chaos. There is no resource conflict. Yellowstone does not allow energy waste through internal struggle. Alpha individuals access protein first. This ensures genetically superior leaders maintain optimal energy reserves for coordination and defense. There is no contest, because every member recognizes that individual survival depends on collective stability. Lower-ranking individuals wait until their turn. A single wapiti carcass Wolves do not merely consume biomass. They function as ecological engineers. By continuously applying pressure and regulating herbivore movement, they prevent vegetation overuse at fixed locations. Wolf presence forces elk to remain mobile. This allows riparian vegetation to recover. Gray wolves regulate the tempo of survival at Yellowstone. They ensure that energy flow remains uninterrupted by stagnation within any single component. Within the Yellowstone ecosystem, the death of a wapiti elk is rarely a sudden event. For these 700-pound biological systems, survival is not a dramatic chase. It is a process of delaying structural collapse. They do not die solely from wolf impact. They die from cumulative physical pressures. Within this system, there is no space for altruistic behavior. When energy reserves can no longer overcome snow resistance, the body converts into an energy source for wolves and bears. Wapiti rely on body mass and dense antler structure to establish defensive barriers. This action requires high caloric output. Maintaining a standing defensive posture against wolf attacks burns energy at multiple times resting rate. In Yellowstone, if wolves regulate tempo, bison represent mass. An adult male can reach 2,000 pounds, establishing its position as the largest land mammal in North America. Bison confront it directly through weight and muscle density. Their survival strategy is mechanical endurance. Anatomical structure with a pronounced shoulder hump and massive skull functions as a biological plow. The most defining winter behavior of bison is their response to blizzards. They face directly into the storm. This is a precise physical calculation. Fur covering the head and shoulders has extreme density and insulation capacity. Snow accumulating on their backs does not melt from body heat. In Yellowstone, when a bison falls, it becomes a large energy source for the entire scavenger network. In conflict scenarios, bison represent the highest difficulty target. Wolves must wait across multiple day-night cycles to identify minor biological weakness or disease. Bison do not respond to threat with panic. They respond with stillness and forward charges, carrying thousands of joules of kinetic energy. An adult bison is structurally too large to be subdued by isolated attacks. Their existence demonstrates a distinct survival model in Yellowstone. Speed is not required. Cunning is not required. Mass and endurance are sufficient. They move through time as stable structures resistant to repeated winter cycles. The wild world, from African savannas to the frozen plateaus of Yellowstone, operates as a vast energy exchange network. Existence is not defined by morality. It is defined by management of kinetic energy and stored reserves. Every biological entity, whether a 100-pound cheetah or a 2,000-pound bison, functions within strict physical limits. Calories acquired must equal or exceed calories expended during each hunting cycle.
Across two continents, the question is no longer which species is strongest. It is which strategy still works when conditions change. Water can turn numbers into pressure. Drought can make memory the guide. Open grassland can give speed an advantage. Deep snow can force predator and prey to calculate every step again. Lions, wild dogs, elephants, crocodiles, wolves, and bison do not share a single measure of power. Each body holds its advantage only in a specific moment, terrain, and level of energy. When that advantage disappears, resources pass to another species, then return to soil, water, and vegetation to continue the cycle. On the banks of the Mara, red dust slowly settles. In Yellowstone, steam still rises through the snow, and the ground keeps breathing.